Hey, Jim, I may need to talk to you. I have a adult daughter with ADHD on the ADD side, and COVID happened during her junior year of high school. So we're in a social anxiety world over here. So I am Stacia Thompson, and my niche is transition. So I am an identity integration coach, and I am going to. This is new, right? Because I'm retiring from the federal government. So my niche is going to be helping women who are leaving the military merge their pre and their post military identities to reflect their evolving selves, so that wholeness, and really figure out a path of what they want to do next outside of that military career. That's me.
Thank you, Stacia. I love how this is so diverse. Yeah. Everybody come from different background. And we have Roz. I don't know if Roz, would you be able to unmute yourself and kind of introduce yourself with your niche, where you're focusing on, if you're able to. And make sure you unmute if you're able to. Sometimes we forget that button. Okay, she might be busy. All right. So, welcome everybody. I will give you a little quick introduction about myself. So, I am the co-host inside the Higher Coach Connected Collective. I started to partner with other coaches together inside this community, and inside this community, we kind of each one of us have a different background. And before I get started with the show and tell, there is an event this Thursday, and it's with Amanda Kaufman, and she's going to talk about how to identify the problem that people are willing to pay for. It sounds like most of you have like a niche already, so this might not be applied to you. But if you're interested, she's also an iPEC coach. So if you would like to support another iPEC coach, be sure to check out the event inside the group. Now, my background, I started out as a life coach and mindset coach. And that's where my iPEC journey started and began. And Jim had followed me quite some time, so he might have noticed the transition. So I am now working as a marketing coach, and marketing has become my passion because everything that we see out there on social and off social, it really get me excited. So when I realized that there's some of the coaches are not leveraging the ELI as a tool to really highlight how they can help others. It really saddens me because it's such a powerful tool that we can all use inside our coaching package. So I wanted to share and kind of show you how I use the ELI as a life coach, as a mindset coach, as specifically as a transition coach. So I was helping women who feels this imposter syndrome, doing a lot of negative self-talk, to feel confident. And so that was my transition phrase from for mindset coaching. And I remember when I first got out of iPad coaching, the script, I'm going to share you're going to see my screen going back and forth because it's a show and tell. The script that I got, and I know most of you have gotten this script already, is this very corporate lingo kind of script. We all got this debrief where we're talking about the ELI, and it's not going to be a typical coaching session. So I remember sitting there with my non-corporate clients, and they have no clue of what that means, because the energy leadership, they hear energy, some of them hear energy, and they think that, oh, this is the healing work, the Reiki work. But when they hear the leadership, they don't connect the dot between the leadership to the self leadership. They think leadership in the corporate sense. So that's the script that I was initially using. Now, when I started to market to the non-corporate clients, what I have created was I rearranged how I describe the 7 different levels. We describe in iPad terms the victim energy. The next level would be, can't remember the next one. I'm blanking out. Help me.
Fighter energy.
Thank you.
Conflict, fighter, yeah.
So I was using that, and oh, let me share the screen. So what I have created, because my focus was helping women to feel confident so that they can let go of that negative self-talk. So what I have created was this marketing tool that I can use on social, and also to use it in their language that they can understand. So I described it as 7 level of confidence. The first level is nothing I do is right. I feel worthless. And that kind of tap into your victim energy, right? And then the second level would be people just don't understand what's it like to be me. There's that anger, that fighter energy. And then you go on to the third level, the fourth level, which is self-love, more compassion, the best kind of love to prove for myself that I'm worthy of who I am. And so I broke it down into language that they commonly used. And I don't use the specific, here's level 1 energy, here's level 2 energy. I gave them a compass. So I call it a compass. And depending on who I'm talking to, I might even describe it as a navigation system. Here's your GPS. Now imagine you can wake up in the morning and you have a GPS within you that's already built in, that you can point to know exactly what are you feeling today and how you want to show up today, so that you can feel confident. And so in my description, when I'm in the session with them, or when I'm doing like videos or marketing material, I don't necessarily use the iPEC terminology. Here's the level 1 energy, here's level 2 energy. I describe it as navigation system. It could be a GPS. It could even be something like, maybe it's an inner compass, a compass that they can navigate, they can point to, or it could be a battery system. And battery number 1, you're out of battery, you feel defeated. Now for Leah, with the divorce and the couple relationship, it might even be like a way that you can point, instead of guessing each other what you're feeling. Now you have a way of describing. You point to like where I'm at, like a pointing system. So that's how I was able to come up with the marketing material to market the ELI to non-corporate clients, because none of the language I use describe it. Now, how I use it in the marketing term, I recently came up with this idea, which kind of broke it down into chakra again, because I attract a lot of energy healers, Reiki practitioner, mindset coaches. And so this diagram basically broke down your 7 different level of energy without using the terminology. I wanted to make sure that I'm showing the right screen. You see the coaching business energy pyramid, right? Thumbs up, like different color. Okay, yeah. So if you look at the breakdown of each level, so there's 7 different level, and level 1 would be the hide and hope. I'm hiding and hoping, but nothing is working out. My social media visibility is not there. Nothing is working out. Or the fighter energy, the hustling hamster. We keep showing up and we keep fighting through. Or a lot of coaches I work with, they're in this flow seeker. They're floating. They have a lot of idea that's out there, but it's not grounding. So I broke down the 7 level of energy into these type of language so that they can understand where they're at. So essentially, the ELI is an assessment, right? It's a self-assessment to know exactly where we are, how we're showing up, and that relationship to others. So I use that language to translate to what works for the clients I'm going to serve. So in order for this to work, you have to be clear in terms of your niche or your I help statement, your positioning statement. So if you're helping client to let's say Leah, you're helping the couple to, help me finish the sentence.
So the idea for couples right now is actually new. I don't even have a pitch for it, but what the idea is behind it is let's plan the marriage, not the wedding. So it's about coming to me, answering questions that you wouldn't even think about answering, where it'll uncover, you know, what is your style of dealing with conflict, or you know, what are your ideas of raising kids. But with the divorce and the different stages, so it's really getting off the emotional roller coaster so that you can think straight, not be emotionally hijacked, think straight, and make decisions, make confident decisions, make informed decisions, not fear-based decisions. That's not really my pitch, but I'm just like going
Mm-hmm.
off. Um, so, you know, we're talking more of the emotional resilience part there. And I often do say, funny enough, is, you know, we want to run away from our emotions, but our emotions are our personal GPS. I always say that. So that's really funny. Yeah.
So, okay. So what I'm hearing also, there's a piece of the couple being able to communicate with each other. And so it sounds like how you can use this tool is to give them the tool so that they can communicate with each other more clearly, more empathetically, without the emotions, right? And so that they both can point to exactly how what I'm feeling right now. Because one of the hardest thing about couple relationship is probably because people are not expressing what is it that I want and what is it that I need, and there's that conflict that show up. So you're giving them the tool to identify that GPS. So this is a 7 levels of how you can communicate better as a couple.
Right. Yeah.
And that would be the tool that you introduce them with, and how
Yeah.
you market to them, how you explain to them. Now, when they do see the energy leadership, eventually they're going to take the assessment, because the iPEC built-in assessment is still very corporate language, right? So you
Yes.
wanted to kind of prep them during your session and say, hey, you're going to get this assessment. The assessment was designed for this, targeting this particular group, but this is how we're going to use it. And it's the same tool, same concept, same format. But just be aware that you're going to see language that might not apply to you. But this is a tool that we're going to use to be able to use to identify the common language that we use in a couple relation. So you kind of prep them,
Yeah.
making sure that they know that the language that they're seeing, it's not something that you market to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did,
Exactly.
yeah. Does that make sense for everybody?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That is also nodding. Well, awesome. So once you market them, so your audience facing marketing material, it could be changed, right? In or inspire in ways that this is the framework that I'm going to be using. And in order to help you to understand that framework, this is what it is. This is the tool, right? So when you use the tool, the how, you can prep them and say, here's a tool. It was designed for mostly corporate leaders, corporate environment, but it's a great tool. We're using it here. This is how we apply this tool here. Yeah.
I guess my question would be, before their clients, and you're attempting to, let's say, in a complimentary consult, and so you talk about it.
Mhm.
Um, how how would you phrase it in a way, not for the marriage ones, more so for um at any stage? Like, some people come to me to help them make an informed decision about, you know, should I stay or should I go, or they're in the midst of it or rebuilding afterwards. So any tips on how you would present it to them in such a way that it's in lay terms that they understand?
Okay, so there's something called mirroring, right? We in coaching we have a tool called mirroring. So when you mirror your client's verbiage or language, they're probably during the complimentary session they're sharing some of the struggles and the experiences that they're having. So I pick out the words that they're using and mirror back to them. So you are feeling this, And that looks like this type of perception. Or when you are navigating through your communication, it's probably here, sitting in the level 2. And now level 2, you're going to come up, and this is an exercise that we encourage you to do, is if you want to have that exact language, you articulate it, you wanted to sit down, and you know how I have 7 level of confidence. You wanted to create that same graphic and articulate and practice what does 7 level of couple communication looks like. Level 1 is this, level 2 is this. So you create that asset ahead of time so that during the complimentary session, you can always refer back to what I'm hearing you said is this. Now, it looks like on the 7 level of couple communication, this is where you guys are hanging out most of the time. Okay, now I'm gonna map it back to you, right? This is where, now what if you're able to pick all these other level of communication in the couple communication level? Like, which level would you like to be? So now I'm calling it couple communication, 7 level, instead of 7 level of energy. So during the session, they understand the concept of here are the 7 level, but I don't call it energy leadership. I call it communication navigation.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So you wanted to do that exercise beforehand so that you have the asset to talk about. Yvette.
Yeah, do you mind a comment, Michelle? Thank you. I love the whole compass and the navigation, because that relates, I think, also to how I address this. And Leah, to add to what Michelle offered, I don't even really get into the energy levels when I talk about the ELI, for example, and how we might do that. I say we have an assessment that can help you look at how you're showing up right now in this transition, in your communication, in your relationship, whatever. And it becomes a roadmap. And that's why I like your GPS and your compass thing, because there's a good merger there. And I say it's going to show you where you are today, but what's different, because a lot of people, especially if they're in corporate, have taken a million assessments and it gives them a label. ELI does not give you a label. What it tells you is how you are appearing now, and then you get to think about what you want it to be and how you're going to make choices. So I say it becomes like a roadmap or a guide to what you want to show up as, how you want to be in various situations in life. And then we're going to work on how you can be that person you want to be in those situations. So I use it like that. And that way I'm not even talking about what this assessment is.
Yeah. I love, occasionally I do use the word assessment with the client. And the way that I phrase and position this assessment is I said, here's a tool that you can use, right? Because every day you wake up and you know you're not feeling good, or you know you're feeling drained, you're feeling tired, but you don't know exactly how to describe it. And guess what? The people around you, they're going to be impacted just because you don't know how to describe it. Now imagine you have the exact word to describe what you're feeling, and so others know exactly what to expect from you. Right? So there's that clear language boundary and communication. I can clearly articulate what is it I'm feeling right this moment. So if you need to stay away from me, stay away from me after I have the coffee, great. Right? We're all clear on that. And so I give them the tool. And in order to give you the tool, there's a little quick assessment that we're going to take. But it's giving you the language to understand what you're going through during this transition. That could make your life easier, or it could make your life harder. And so I do that. I incorporate that language in my complimentary call, and I also incorporate it in my everyday marketing aspects. So when I describe it, I say, well, right now you're feeling angry, but you don't know why you're feeling angry. You just feel like you blame it to the menopause and perimenopause. But what if you have the language to actually understand it? I'm in a perimenopause, so that's the first thing that came to my mind.
I think you're striking a nerve, Michelle. Sorry,
Absolutely. Yeah, sorry, Jim.
Oh, men have menopause and perimenopause. We're inclusive here.
Been a witness, so I understand. without the experience.
You poor thing too. Seriously.
We're inclusive here. Yeah. Stacia.
Okay, so Michelle, so with the changing of the language, so what about anabolic and catabolic? So you're not using those terms at all?
I rarely use it. The way that I use them is in the place where I'm talking about the positive energy and negative energy. Like our everyday people, they understand the positive energy and the negative energy. But it's more than that. We know as iPEC coaches, it's anabolic energy and catabolic energy, right? But most of your everyday people, they just describe it as positive energy and negative energy. Now, when I describe them, let's say I'm in a complimentary session or I'm doing a webinar, when I introduce the concept, I would say that this is the positive energy that you're familiar with, but there's a specific name for it. It's called anabolic energy. And that would be the place where I introduce the terminology so that it doesn't come off as a surprise when they see the debrief, when I
Okay,
debrief them.
okay,
Okay.
okay.
There was a concept that Yvette had talked about. I wanted to go back to it. So people don't buy assessment. They won't buy assessment, but they will buy why they need the assessment. So in my marketing efforts, when I talk about the ELI, or when I'm in a complimentary session, when I talk about the benefit of having ELI, is I'm going to focus on talking about why this tool is going to help them in describing and articulating their emotion. It's going to help them to navigate through these challenges time. It's going to help them to have a common way of communicating with each other and to identify where I'm at so that they have clear picture of how I want to navigate through this, right? So that's the why. And that's what I'm going to focus talking about, and not necessarily, I'm going to give you an assessment. I would talk about why you need this assessment. And yeah, people are tired of taking assessment and quiz.
Yeah, you're right. It's always about the benefit. Like, what do I get out of it? And if it speaks to their, a solution to their challenge, then they're more apt to move in that direction of purchasing it. It sounds so easy as I'm saying it, but yet I haven't been able to, unless it's in a package of mine. But I find sometimes it's like, I tend to lean back to what I kept reading from iPEC, and it's ingrained but not ingrained, and so like it comes out choppy and too executive-ish, right? And yeah, so
So the exercise I would encourage everyone to do is actually sit down. Now, you wanted to think about your I help statement, your positioning statement. That's important because the outcome, right? Your I help statement has a promise. I help couple doing X, Y, and Z so that they don't have to go through that emotional roller coaster, so they can communicate with each other better, right? The so you can is your positioning statement. So I can have more confidence. Great. If that is your promise, right, for your audience facing promise, then what you want to do is you want to sit down and think about the 7 level of the promise that you're making. If I'm promising a couple to get off the emotional roller coaster, what are the 7 level of emotional roller coaster? Okay, so you're gonna brainstorm, and nowadays ChatGPT make it easy for you. So you can actually pop in there and say, map out using the energy leadership framework and help me map out the 7 level of energy for emotional roller coaster. It's going to help you to navigate and brainstorm the language around it. Or if you like to do it yourself, journaling tonight and write down the 7 level of emotional roller coaster. I'm using Leah's as an example, but the same idea, right? For Yvette, it would be 7 level of confidence. For Jim, it would be 7 level of how to navigate through the neurodivergent. So those would be something that you do before you sit down with your client in a complimentary session. Now, I know Leah talked about do you have this included in your package, or is it a complimentary in your package?
The ELI,
Mm-hmm.
it's included in my 3-month package.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the unique way that I position the ELI and how I sell it is I position it as a bonus.
Mm.
So you get 3 months coaching with me, and you have a bonus of this assessment, this tool that we talked about included. And plus with that, you get in a bonus debrief session. I don't call it debrief session. I just call it a bonus session. And that's a 90-minute session.
Okay, so just that word bonus, that's true. Do you sell it as a standalone? Because I sell it as a standalone too. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can sell it as a standalone. And remember, you wanted to talk about why this package would be valuable, right? So you get the tool, but on top of it, you get this additional session with me. So it comes with the session. And I remember when I charge it, I think it was 375 that I charge.
US?
Yes.
I'm Canadian, that's why I'm asking.
The conversion is very high right now. Yeah. I saw the eye rolling.
I
Yeah.
know, it's huge.
Yeah. So Jim, did you have any question?
No, it's very much in line with what we're doing. And again, I think we all resonate with the GPS thing of, one of the things that I say is this is where you're starting. When you want to go someplace, you can put in your destination, but unless you know your origin point and what vehicle you're in, it's hard to make a plan going forward. But this is very good. And I'm right in line with where you are. My ELI standalone is 350, but I do put it in the beginning and end as kind of bonus to the package. So, I'm right in line with where you are on this all. And that, it's the importance that they understand that this is, it's like when you go to your primary doctor or your specialist, they're looking at your blood test, and you may hate the needle, but they can't get any information just saying, "Hey, how you feeling today, Michelle?" Well, I'm tired or whatever. You got to have that blood test to take a look at all the different variables. And that gives that starting origin point in the GPS of that relationship. And that's what I feel that this is. And sometimes it's hard to explain in the neurodivergent world. And like I said, you have to choose how you interpret some of that information as well in any of it. I think you and I have a little more experience in this, where we've seen people who have not answered in their present tense; they've answered in their future tense, or in "I want them to see this" tense, type thing. And then we have to, not so much confront, but bring that into the fold of our conversation. So getting them to, like Lee was saying, getting them to understand the importance of this thing is just like the blood test. Just understanding this is going to give us a place to create a language, and those are the 7 levels or the 7 interpretations. I use lenses, different sunglasses type thing, to give people a place to say, oh yeah, I want that. I want to be able to communicate, going forward. So thanks for the opportunity to share.
Of course. I feel like one of another analogy or the terms that your younger adult might resonate is if you describe it as a playlist. Now imagine you have a playlist on your phone that you can listen to the song that you want. And here are 7 different songs that you can play. And so a playlist analogy might be something that works really well for a young adult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love the blood work analogy. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So the exercise will be for you to sit down and come up with 7 level of different way of describing it. So for example, playlist, here's song number 1. The first song, it's all like, very depressing songs. You play it all day long. When you feel in a bad mood, that's the song you play and you choose to play on your playlist. Or you could choose a happier song, right? That might be song number 6 or 4, depending on what you feel like. So you go through 7 level, describing it using the word playlist, and that will give you the language. So the next time when you sit down with them, now you have a different language to describe the 7 level, right? And in terms of my debrief, I write out I kind of took iPad's debrief script as an inspiration, and I rewrote my own debrief. And I have like these questions highlighted so I can mirror back to them. So I started out by saying, we'll talk about the assessment in general. I don't even talk about this is the energy leadership assessment, because they already had that. They already took the assessment. They already seen the energy leadership assessment. So I just refer it back to the assessment. And here are the questions. What did you hope that when we were in the complimentary session, what did you hope to get out of it? So I will write down, this is for my note taking. I will write down the words that they're using, and I will mirror it back to them during the whole debrief session. So it further validate and acknowledge what they're feeling before I go into each level. And how I start the level is I start with a good positive energy for them. I don't like to start with level 1, because once I put them in a bad place, it's hard to get them to get out. That's in my experience. But I know some coaches do it, start with the level 1 to walk them through the level 7. I usually start describing, on a good day, this is what you're feeling, and it shows on your result, right? This is most of the time you hang out here on a good day, and this is what you're feeling, and this is how the way that you communicate with others, and you're typically within this range. And on the not so good day, this is where you're at. And then I would debrief them on the level 1 and level 2. Because now, when you do it that way, you're painting the picture of the opportunity, where they're at, and what could be different when you wrap up the debrief session. So there's always that picture of opportunity, change, and what I would like to work on in the future. So I write out my own script, and with the questions, I highlight it. And these are the empty spaces or where I take notes. If you like, since I don't use it anymore, I'm happy to share this with you. I'll just make a copy. You're welcome to make a copy.
Thank you for sharing it. I would love a copy.
Yeah, I don't use this. I'm doing marketing, so I don't really use this anymore with client. So I'm gonna give you a copy.
And while you're doing that, Michelle, in case you get another veteran, I was going to say, with my levels, right, I could use that as far as bases or posts that the veteran, while they were active duty, may be assigned, like Hawaii or, South Dakota. Not to put that down, but, it's cold in South Dakota. And at least on the Air Force side, right, someone may not want to go there compared to Hawaii. So like maybe I could use like 7 different type of bases, right? As based on, what he was saying about the blood work or the playlist. So thanks for using another example that I may be able to use over.
Yeah, there's so many different ways that you can apply the 7 level and use that as part of your marketing material. So I used to take out, let's say I want to talk about the level 1 energy. I would take level 1, and the level 1 is I feel worthless. I don't feel anything. I'm not confident. I feel like there's a lot of, I don't want people to judge me. And I would take that one piece and I would turn it into a social media post or into a blog post or a video that I talk about. So each 7 level, I can break it down into 7 pieces of different content that I can share. And or I will bring the whole picture back. You have learned all 7. Here's all 7. Now imagine you have this tool in your pocket at all time that you can just use it when you choose to. And this is exactly what I do.
I did the 7 chapters of divorce, but I like, yeah, because my business name is Personal Chapter. So I can use it in so many ways. And what does personal chapter even mean and whatnot. But I also like your idea of the 7 chapters of getting off the emotional roller coaster.
Right? I'm dropping the PDF that I created for the level of confidence. In case you wanted to grab it or use it as inspiration, feel free to grab it. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I do. Because I know my clients were not in the corporate world. I thought it would be great to get into the corporate world, but my background, that's the place I wanted to get out of because it was very toxic. So my previous life, I've been a clinical pharmacist for a large academic institution for a very long time. So it's the corporate environment that I was trying to get out of. It was very toxic. So that's what inspired me to become a coach. And I had no intention whatsoever going back to it.
That's amazing. It's amazing how the paths take us, you know?
Yeah. So I had to figure out a way to be more creative in terms of the language that iPEC had given us. It's a great tool, and it's one of the tools that it's a very unique one that no place else has it. And if we are not using it as part of our package or as part of our program, it's really a shame. Yeah. Because we spend so much money investing in iPEC and not being able to use the tool to the fullest, I think it's a shame. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yvette.
I think it's one of the things that I find interesting is I don't think corporate grasps or values the terminology either. I think it's a little too airy fairy, the whole energy thing. So I'm part of the reason this is very valuable is I'm trying to come up with a lot of different ways to talk about this. It's been in my package for a number of years. And I do want to sell it separately. I have a price. I offer it as a bonus. I just don't sell it separately. So, but I like this thinking because you can apply it to anything, right? Like if you're working with a certain corporate client, I'm trying to change my relationship with corporate because I'm never going to be in it again by choice. And so, but I like that. I value the approach that you've, laid out. It's very simple, makes a lot of sense, right? And it is a powerful tool. I think with individuals, you get a little more time to talk through whatever they're asking about it. But like in a group debrief in a big room with people, you don't. So it's
Yeah.
got to resonate.
So the way that I use in a group, I've done workshops for it's a big defense company. So I presented it as a workshop, a 2-day workshop for leaderships. They had a employee appreciation 2-day workshop. So I was invited to speak as a keynote speaker. So I did a 2-day workshop for them, and the way that I described it, because they're in the leadership field, so I kept the word leadership. So 7 level of leadership. I dropped the energy aspects of it for that reason Yvette was talking about. So I dropped the energy part, but when they got the material, obviously I prep them and say, oh, you're going to see the energy, but in energy in the sense that how we're showing up, the positive and the negative. And I did a demonstration for the catabolic and anabolic, and it's a workshop interactive. So that's how I use it in a group setting. I've also presented the same idea to a group of anesthesiologists and during their grand round. So every week they have grand round. So I created a separate presentation, not using iPEC's presentation. And the way that I describe it, because I'm in LA. So LA, I don't know if you have ever visited LA. If you're in LA, the traffic is horrendous. The traffic is horrendous. And so when I presented to them, I talked about it in the traffic sense. So 7 level of how you feel when you sit in LA traffic. Now imagine apply that level inside your work environment, right? So I presented it at how they show up in the traffic, LA traffic. Here's level 1. Everybody got stuck. Oh, why me? You know, it's time. I need to clock in. I need to get to work. Here's my level 1 and level 2. So I went through all the levels by using what they're familiar with, and everybody familiar with LA traffic because I presented it in LA. So that's how you would be creative in terms of presenting it in the group. And this is why we go back to that I help statement, the outcome. So they can do what? People can understand the outcome. If you are presenting in a group, they also want an outcome that they can all accomplish. So what is that outcome? And tie your energy to that outcome. Yeah. So thank you all for show and tell. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what you're creating. I'm going to go and follow each and every one of you and see what you're able to come up with. I love your creativity.
Thank you so much for taking the time to share this with us. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Thank you. And for your generosity in what you've shared. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for a fresh look for me of, getting, we're always trying to, just like in life, we're looking for, what's the next best version. And this just, some is the future, some is going back and dusting off tools that I haven't used, and some good ideas about how to find this, the way that I phrase things to my clients. Thanks very much, and glad to meet all of you.
Of course. Yeah. And I will see you all inside the group. And those of you who's watching the replay, feel free to drop comments or questions inside the group. And I'm inside the group to support you. Either way. Yeah. All right. Have a wonderful rest of your day wherever you are, and relax, and let's go rock and roll.
Thanks, Michelle.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.